Hello, Lee. Good morning. నా పేరు సుశీల్ చంద్ర. Welcome to open discussion on student career and college counseling and related topics. నేను ఎడ్యుకేషన్ కమిటీ చైర్పర్సన్ అమెరికన్ అసోసియేషన్కి ఈరోజు అఖిల్ Thank you. Basically, in this session, we wanted to have an open discussion so that everybody gets insight about college and career counseling. We'll get into details. ఆట గురించి చెప్పాలంటే ఆట 30 years నుంచి serving the community. Our goal is to know some of the community and encourage them in every area that we can. Basically, many programs if you see education community, IT training, youth scholarship programs. We have so many programs that we do for education programs. This is also part of our education. We have a Ata Seva committee, which is a dedicated helpline any crisis. If you have any accidental issues or financial disasters, if you need some help from the counseling office, there is a dedicated helpline, which is 1-800-1844 Ata Seva, or also reach out to Ata Help at AtaNode.org. There's a dedicated group of people throughout the country that are always monitoring and helping each other. We also have a lot of programs conducting throughout the nation, like 20 plus cities. We do Wednesday programs, and every Sunday we do yoga sessions from the street yoga sessions trainers. They do business networking programs and we conduct networking events connecting leaders between the US leaders and India and there's matrimonial service that we do just free for members, and many programs can be just I don't want to get into full details, but there are a lot of things that we do for the community, and all this is not possible without our leadership. I just want to introduce now to our American Telugu Association President, Madhu Bammineni garu. Madhu garu.
Good morning. Good morning all, and thank you, Sushil. Thank you for joining today's college admissions and career counseling session. Ravi Lothamalla has 30 years of experience in college counseling, so is going to be an excellent resource for you today. And we also have three other guests. Our ATA Youth Scholarship recipients, Anish, and he's a recent high school graduate, and in college, both Akhil and Netra to share their experience with you, so you can ask them all your questions and they can give you the best advice. You can ask about the resumes, scholarships, study abroad programs, internships, all the questions you have about, so you can be knowledgeable, be prepared, which helps you plan well so you can achieve your goal of attending your dream school. So I'm happy to share ATA offers many programs to students, like you just heard, educational trainings, and for high school students, SAT and ACT coaching, and for everyone that's interested in Vedic math, Bhagavad Gita classes. For those youth volunteers, there are plenty of opportunities to volunteer, and we recognize with the Service and Excellence Awards also, and provide recommendation letters for your school or college or work, for your internship. Anything required for you to be successful. So, and we also provide need-based and merit scholarships, which has been going on for the last 6 years for the high school students attending college program, recognizing their academic achievements and also community involvement. And I congratulate the 12 recipients of this year's scholarships from across the country. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the donors, because these are coming from our donors' funds for the scholarships to be programmed to be making it possible. And we recently hosted a very successful 18th ATA Convention and Youth Conference in Atlanta. It was a grand success with great programs. The convention was well attended, especially by the youth, who contributed to many programs, which made it even more impressive. There are a number of events and ongoing programs happening in ATA every day, every week. Health and fitness challenges, which is a new one is happening starting next week. Immigration, financial, and various business webinars. Matrimonial sessions, Vivaha Parichaya Vedika, we have these periodical meet and greet sessions, which is the need of an hour, the hour to connect with the prospective couples. Many programs that ATA offers are, if you're interested in something that you would like to see, we can always include that and then make it possible so it will help the community. So we are here for you with all the other programs. As we grow as a community, our programs are also making, growing, making sure that we can help any way, possible. So please visit our website, ataworld.org, to find out the more programs. And now, without the delay, let's start today's programs of college admissions and career counseling. And again, I thank you for joining today's program. Have a great day.
Thank you, Madhugaru. Yeah. Without any further delay, I want to introduce our esteemed guest, Ravi Lothamalla. Ravi Lothamalla is he is a MS Computer Science graduate from New York Institute of Technology. He's been serving community from 1994, guiding students on mentoring them on admissions and counseling into various universities. I will let him talk and give more information about what he's been doing and how he's associated with our organization. Thank you so much, Ravi Garu, for being here today.
Thank you so much to ATA. Thank you so much to our president, Madhu Bomineni, and also the entire team led by her. It is a great honor and an achievement and a service to the community, especially Indian community, through ATA. Going forward, we are here to serve the communities, anything and everything related to college admissions counseling, which encompasses so many factors, and also about scholarships, financial aids, and also exchange programs. Along with that, we also have what is called career counseling. So, as Sushil just now said, I'm into college admissions counseling for the last 30 years, and I just started my 31st year in college counseling. Holistically, I help students in terms of the entire ecosystem, in terms of preparing their essays, resumes, selection of APs, pre-APs, plus counselor recommendations. I also talk about scholarships, financial aids. I'm not an expert to give you any financial advising, but financial aids, merit scholarships predominantly, that is what I focus on, which includes grant for US citizens, grants for international students who are into their bachelor's program. I'll also help them in terms of immigration solutions. Again, I'm not an attorney, but immigration solutions. And along with that, I'm focusing more on scholarships as well as career counseling. I brought in a few of the Gen Z folks over here along with me. I have Anish Gudipati, I have Akhil Peruri, I have Netra Midela who will be joining along with me. And just not me alone, but all these Gen Z students who are currently pursuing their bachelor's program in one of the top schools in the country. They're going to we decided to segregate the topics, and then I will be covering mostly on the scholarships as well as the career counseling side. Along with probably I'll be focusing more on student abroad, study exchange, and career counseling. And I leave the expertise to Anish for his area of expertise, Akhil for his area of whatever he wants to suggest about, and also leave Netra to her expertise and the interest topics. So with this, I would like to say that I want to invite Anish now. Let us break down the topics into extracurricular organizations as well as essays, and for which Netra is going to give you a debrief you about what's all needed for extracurriculars and essays on the resume, and how does it look like, and then I invite to Netra now. Netra, you and I can be there, or four of us can be here, and then we can all. I can moderate, and then you guys can lead the topics.
Okay, cool. Do you have any like beginning questions for me, or do you want me to just jump in?
I mean, give your experience in terms of how your college applications look like, and what is your experience in terms of your extracurriculars, organizations, and essays, so that we four of us are here, and then we can talk about it. Netra, it is you right now.
Okay, cool. So for my extracurriculars, I focused on, first of all, one of my biggest extracurriculars was Kuchipudi dance for me, which is an Indian classical dance. And something that I saw.
Before that, my only request is, Netra, your first and last name, the school that you're studying in, and the major that you're in. Students, please, your first last name, the school that you're in, preferably your location, and then what is the topic that you're going to talk, and what are your passions?
Okay. My name is Netra Medella, first of all. I'm pursuing computer science at the University of Texas at Austin, and I will be a sophomore this year. Some of my passions include dancing, reading, writing, and I love writing anything, poetry, and code. And today I will be talking about extracurriculars and essays. So first of all, for my extracurriculars, one of my biggest extracurricular was Kuchipudi classical dance. And I've been doing this for like 11, 12 years. And a reason why I found this important to put on my like college application was not only does it show that I'm academically inclined, but also I have a sport behind me, or I'm all well-rounded. Also, Kuchipudi was not just something I did for a long time, but I had a lot of depth in the activities, and that's really important to include on your college application, because you can do about 100 activities, but you need to have been making an impact in them. So the impact that I found making with Kuchipudi is that I was also an assistant teacher for some time. So I could list that as I was in a leadership opportunity. I volunteered backstage. I was helping with productions. I was not only dancing in the productions itself, but I was helping younger kids dance and helping them learn the steps too. Also, I had a technical portion to it, which really helped on the computer science side of my application. Whenever my teacher needed like some audio to be cut or edited, or videos, especially during COVID time, I would be the one editing the videos of the performances and sending it to her. And that's another bonus that I could include in my college applications, that I had a computer science aspect inside something which was not related to computer science. I brought my passion and my major into this new subject. Another extracurricular which I found important was I was in this program called Independent Study and Mentorship. Of course, it's not going to be everywhere in the nation, but it's something you could definitely replicate at home or do on your own time. What it was is that I went out and I made a LinkedIn profile. I called and cold emailed a lot of professionals and found someone in a career field I was interested in going into. So, for an example, I was interested in artificial intelligence, being in computer science, and so I found a mentor in artificial intelligence. I talked to them a bit, learned more about how I can reach this career in my professional journey. And with them, I asked them, hey, can you help me out to make a project? And by the end of the school year, I made a natural language processing model, and I was able to have a project during the semester which related to my major. And it's a cool thing which I can show on my college applications to show that I'm actually putting forth the effort to be and participate in the major. And lastly, one of the big extracurriculars I had was a organization called Scientella. It's where women in STEM, basically I started a chapter at my school, and I talked about opportunities for women in STEM. Every week I taught an activity. And having a club at school which you run or which you have leadership in is really important, because it shows that you're managing something like beyond just school time and school activities. So this also gave me a scholarship. So not only being in these organizations like help you build upon your resume, but it also gives you extra perks like leadership opportunities and scholarships and just extra things further down the way. And I feel like there are plenty extracurriculars you can take, but the most important ones you can both include part of your major and show depth and leadership and volunteering, and as much as you can in one extracurricular, try to participate and put your full effort into it, so that when it's something you're passionate about, you can include your major into that activity. And I know nationwide there are extracurriculars such as Business Professionals of America for people interested in business. There's HOSA for healthcare, and there's DECA for more business. So about these activities, I was in Business Professionals of America, and I was able to get some honors and distinctions at the state level. I was also in academic decathlon, but I feel like what's really important is if you're in these big organizations especially, you should try to get a leadership role, because almost everyone does them. So try to get something unique on your resume. And if you are in these big organizations, make sure that you are able to hit the honors and awards and get what you're able to out of it. Make sure you have a very specific and unique profile that you can show to college admissions. Should I be taking questions on that for now, or should I go to essays?
I mean, probably we can take the questions later on. The only reason is there will be several questions related to several things. So based on the question, then we can tell whoever wants to answer, they can answer it. But Netra, you have really portrayed a lot of good things in your extracurricular activities. Now, when it comes to your essays, right? So, what are the most important things that that you would suggest the audience in terms of that standouts when compared to the other students for the best books?
Okay, so I think in essays, it's really important to talk about how you were born to do your because every school has an essay asking why this major or why our school. So how I would usually run that essay is that I would start talking about why I was literally born for that, and there's no other thing which would make me perfect than just me being doing past activities. So actually, your past activities is a good reflection of what you will do in the future. So it's great to start off talking with the past activity that you did, volunteering, leadership, extracurricular, and then build off of that, showing that you are interested in that major in that school. And then you can go off of, I always name dropped specifically, hey, there's this program at UT Austin for dance. And because I've done dance and dance leadership in the past, I'm interested in pursuing this at UT Austin. So now they can see that I have a past experience with it, and I've actually put in a lot of time and thought and effort into this. And then I'm actually interested in pursuing it at the university, which makes me a more probable applicant. Another thing with essays is that I did was I made sure, so a lot of schools have not just one essay that you're submitting, but a few different essays, like 2 or 3 supplemental essays. I made sure that in each essay I covered something different, but I still mentioned my major throughout all of it. So the first one might be about how have you helped your community? I would talk about something I did in leadership for a totally different extracurricular activity, but I blend in computer science throughout it. The second one, might be about your major. I talked about my major. And then the third one might be about just any topic they give you. Make sure you talk about your major. Um, yeah, and basically I made sure that the essay showed every part of me. Something that I made sure not to include, and I noticed was not a great idea, was including something which you did but did not really have an impact. For an example, I told you I enjoy reading and writing, so I talk about some of those like small volunteering activities or just engaging in the act of writing. And I noticed that it could be great that you have a hobby, and that's what it shows, but it doesn't show have you made any impact with your hobby, how has this helped the world, and colleges really care about your impact. So unless something small that you did had an impact, I would recommend don't mention it.
Perfect.
And
Thank you so much.
yes.
So now the next topics come along with us are we have Anish Gudipati, who will be focusing on SAT, ACT, volunteering, and some sort of scholarship recommendation letters. So I know, Anish, you said you are in one of the best schools. I would want to have the audience let them know about your name, along with your school that you got admitted into. What are the topics that you are going to talk about, the SAT, ACT, the volunteering stuff, the scholarship recommendation letters. Also, give some inside information about what exactly is your career objective in future, so that might motivate some of the young students who are going to apply and make a difference, or maybe they might be your future juniors. Who knows about it, right? So, Anish, it's all yours now.
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Anish Guripati. I just graduated from high school and I'm an incoming freshman at the Indiana University Kelley School of Business. I'm majoring in finance and considering a double major in accounting or a minor in small business entrepreneurship, but my main major is finance. So I have applied this year, and I'm looking forward to pursuing a career in investment banking or somewhere in the bank sector, financial sector. So to begin, a couple topics I'll be covering is standardized testing, volunteering, and let me take a look, scholarships, right? So my experience with standardized testing, I took the ACT last year in August. Sorry, not the ACT. I took the SAT last year in August. I scored pretty good on it. So couple of the good tips that I could give for the SAT is really just to view it as a standardized test. So as we all should go into the SAT, we should realize that every single student in America is taking the SAT, or even abroad, but every student is gonna, not every student, but most students who take it, you can't go into the SAT with any prior knowledge, especially for the reading section. So when you're at the reading section, the main thing that you should understand is that all of the answers, all of the information is gonna be right there. It's gonna be right there in the passage. So you wouldn't need any outside information to answer the information in the passage, to answer the questions in the passage. All the things that you should have should be from the passage. And for the math section, the best tip that I could give is for you to just repeatedly study. So repeatedly do the work, repeatedly do math questions, keep on doing different math sections. And the best way to practice is actually to do the previous math tests or to do the practice tests that they give. So for me, actually, I took the SAT last year, which was on paper. So they didn't really have the online SAT that they have this year. But I believe the online SAT is a lot different. It's a lot more different than the paper SAT because it has less questions, but I believe they scale it to your skill and they scale to how you're answering the questions. But to me, the best tips that I could definitely give is definitely to take the time, sit down, and do all the practice tests. Don't skip on any of the practice tests and keep on repeating the question. And when you're done, you have to understand every single mistake that you made and understand, how am I going to change in the future? How am I going to do better? How am I going to get these same questions right again? And again, to repeat, for the reading section, they have, I believe, 3 sections. I don't know if they still have 3 sections, but when I took it, they did. They had the reading section, the writing section, and the math section, the math and no calculator section, or whatever it is. So definitely for the reading section, you should realize that you don't need to use any information from the outside. Like, you don't need to come in knowing that, you don't need to come in knowing anything about biology, anything about history, nothing. You just have to look at the passage and then answer the questions based off the passage because it's going to be there. And for math, the best tip I can give is to definitely study all the formulas. Go search up online about all the topics that'll be on the math test. And you just have to keep on just powering through these concepts, just understand them fully. And when you do that, go through all the questions, because the SAT, the math isn't very difficult. It's just the way that they ask the questions is what gets to the people mostly, because they ask the questions in very convoluted ways, very difficult ways. So the main point is to really just go in there, keep on practicing, and soon it'll become second nature to really understand and crack the code. So for me, I used a couple of resources for this. There's something called the SAT Black Book. I use that a lot. That's where I got most of my information from. That's how I know all this stuff, because I read that book, actually. I'm not sure what it's like for the digital ACT. I'm not sure what it's like for the digital SAT, but I'm sure they probably have practice books out there for that. But for me personally, what I use for the written SAT was the SAT Black Book Prep. I also did numerous practices. I looked up online for different previous tests from previous years. I also did those. I probably did like 20 of those tests previously, and I did them a lot. So that's how I really got my score up to the score that I really desired. And that's the best tip I can give. Also, it probably goes for the same as the ACT. I didn't really take the ACT. I didn't take it at all, but it's probably like the same exact scenario, except ACT has some more sections, I guess, but you could do your own research on that. But that's the main premise of standardized testing, is to really just understand the secrets of the test. And there's so many resources that can help you out with this. You could feel free to look online for any of them. It's all yours. So let me take a look here real quick. Next one is volunteering that I'd like to touch on. So volunteering can be denounced in many ways, right? We could volunteer anywhere. We could volunteer hospitals, food banks, shelters. We could do whatever. And this also ties into your extracurriculars a lot. But the point is that volunteering at random places, right? It will help your resume, but everybody has this on their resume. Everybody's volunteered at a library. Everybody's volunteered at like hospitals or wherever they might have volunteered. The main important thing to keep in mind when volunteering is to volunteer somewhere where it will tie into your profession directly. So I'm currently a finance major, so I would like to volunteer in maybe like someplace like financial institution, volunteer in like some other webinars which teach finance, or volunteer in places like this, because you want to show the college that you have qualities, and volunteering is a way to show these qualities. So even like with my profession, public speaking, creative thinking, innovation, it's very important. So you want to volunteer in sectors which really match up to those ideas. So for me, public speaking, I spent a lot of time in volunteering in public speaking. That's one of my main extracurriculars. I taught public speaking for about 4 to 5 years before this. I also did a lot of volunteering in other places. I did volunteering in places like food bank. I volunteered here at ATA as well, which also helps a lot in terms of building your resume and showing the college people that, I worked here, I can work in a team, I can be compassionate, I know how to connect with the people, I know how to be innovative, I know how to create solutions. That's what really shows them in the end. So when you're picking volunteering, you don't really want to pick the things that don't match up with your career. Like me personally, it doesn't make sense for me to go like shadow or volunteer in a hospital. Like, yes, it'll show that, I'm a compassionate guy. But at the end of the day, that's not my major. And obviously the skills that I learned from volunteering in the medical field is not really going to help me in terms of college admissions and in my future, really. But it will definitely help me. I'm not saying it's not going to help me as an overall person, as an overall human being, because it'll definitely do you a lot. But when to volunteer, definitely keep in mind with these things. I believe we also offer a lot of volunteering here at ATA. And there are many places you could volunteer, but really try and like hone in your skills on the places where it'll really matter for you and how it'll really help you the most in the future. So for the final thing I want to touch on actually is scholarships. Let me come back here. Scholarship recommendations. So I've received a couple of scholarships actually. So some of the scholarships include merit-based scholarships or scholarships that you have to apply to. So I received a merit-based scholarship from my school itself. So the way to really get merit-based scholarships is to just do well in school. Is to just get good grades, get good scores, write good essays, and that's really like the best way to get scholarships from there. Also, you also have application-based scholarships that you have to apply to. ATA held a recent one, I believe. So you apply there, you write essays about yourself, you answer a couple questions. But really the best way to find scholarships is just go online, look up scholarships near me or scholarships that are offered. And you can find a huge list of scholarships that get offered by local people or offered by nations or international scholarships, which you have to apply to. So really what to keep in mind when applying to these scholarships is to answer the question, because a lot of scholarships have different requirements. Scholarships have like some scholarships require to be of, Latino origin, or require to be like maybe like lower earning. Like they have a lot of requirements for these scholarships. So you want to find one that really matches you itself and look at the amount of sum of money they give. And when you're applying, they typically ask you for essays. So the main point, what to really focus on during these essays, is to really just show who you are as a person. It's to show the reader that, oh, this person is a good person that I should be giving my scholarship to. And you really want to show them, like, I deserve this scholarship. With this money, I'm going to make good use of it. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to use this money. I'm going to get a good degree. I'm going to spend my time studying, and I'm going to succeed with this scholarship. And that's really the main premise of what you want to show. I believe they all have different prompts or whatever. That. And yeah, scholarship recommendation letters. I mean, you could get recommendation letters from anybody. You could get them from, previous people you worked for, volunteering, teachers, any like other adult. You just ask them who you have a relationship with. You have to ask them politely, may I get a recommendation letter? And I'm sure they'll be happy to write you, depending on the person. And what they really want to focus on is to make sure they know that you're the person that they're talking to. Like, let me explain that. So when you ask the person for their scholarship, when you ask the person for your recommendation letter, they should know who you are as a person. You might have worked for them, you might have done something for them. They should know who you are as a person, and they should use that information, and they should write that in the entire letter, which you send to the admissions reader or whoever it is, so that they have a better holistic approach with who you are. So I believe that mostly sums it up for SAT, volunteering, scholarships, recommendation letters. I believe that mostly sums it up. I'm free to take any questions, or we take them at the end. But yeah, that's basically pretty much what I would say.
So Anish, you covered very beautiful points that about volunteering, the SAT, ACT, the scholarships, and etc. And probably one question is they say that it is test optional, right? Test optional. What is your opinion on test optional? And Netra and Akhil, be prepared. I might be asking you about any kind of a scholarships that you got, or maybe what kind of volunteering activities that you did so that your application stood out for your schools. So, Anish, about it's your call.
Right. Okay. So very good question. Actually, I forgot to touch on that for me, but test optional really depends on the school that you're going to and their median SAT score. So in deciding whether to go test optional or not, you should go do some research about your school and the different schools. So let's say I'm applying to Cornell, right? They have an SAT requirement of, not requirement, but they have SAT of what do you call it? I believe it's like 1,500 median for them, whatever it is, right? What you really want to do is look at the school. You want to go, because different schools inside of a university have different SAT requirement rates. Like the business school at Cornell has a very high SAT rate, but I believe they didn't actually accept any SATs last year. They didn't accept any for the business school. But for different schools like the College Arts and Sciences or whatever it is, they have different SAT levels. So what you really want to do is go and research the different schools. So for me, I'm going to the Kelly School of Business. It's more, let's say, prestigious than the other schools in Indiana University, and they do have a higher SAT score there than the other schools. So you want to look there at the specific schools, research their specific SAT scores, and then see how well your score aligns with theirs. So if your score matches their median or matches their 50th percentile, then you can consider sending it. But if it's below their median percentile, I wouldn't recommend sending it if the school can go test optional. If it's over, then definitely send it, as that can boost your chances of getting in. But I don't believe test optional hurts your chances of getting in. It doesn't really do anything negative to you, but it could definitely boost your application. So if your SAT score is higher or maybe equal to the 50th percentile, then you should definitely consider sending it. But if not, then probably don't send it.
Thank you so much, Anish. That was a very nice information and that you gave. This gives a lot of audience, especially the students. They will be asking so many questions about test optional. And Akhil, in your view, have you gotten, Akhil as well as Netra, have you gotten any kind of scholarships offering from the schools that you have joined or going to join? If so, what kind of scholarships were there? Akhil.
Yeah, for me personally, so for NC State, we have a portal where we can go and apply for scholarships. There we can do the general application, and then there's certain scholarships for like different requirements have different requirements. So if you're a certain origin or you have a certain income level requirement or any others like specialties or requirements. So there's one place to apply. For me personally, I got a scholarship from homeowners association, which is called AMG, and they had like a scholarship portal, which they asked a question about like how your impact on the community has made you a better person. So we had to take like a video of like a minute and answer a few other like quick essay questions. And I was able to get a quick scholarship from there. And another scholarship program that ATA is doing is a very good place to find more merit-based scholarships. And yeah,
Excellent. And Netra Midela, how about you?
UT has merit-based scholarships, which are about like $1,000 or so, and you're allowed to spend them on like books, supplies, school supplies. And it's not really like a video or essay that you send in. They just look at your grades and from school. And I'm not sure if they consider ACT, SAT scores for the scholarship, but it's just mainly grade based. Another scholarship which I received was from my high school itself, which actually they connected me to my elementary school and said because you did something like an art club in elementary school, you get like a random $500 scholarship. So that was a pretty cool thing which I didn't know about until I graduated.
Very good. So the next topic that we are going to have Akhil Peruri, who is going to discuss about few things. One, primarily he is going to focus about the resume. Before he is focusing on the resume, he might be able to speak something about the APs, pre-APs, academic rigors, weighted GPA, unweighted GPA, and for parents, what is the difference between weighted GPA and an unweighted GPA? How many APs and pre-APs are there? What is the expected GPA that they have to apply to the schools around the expected GPA? And along with that, after the GPA is over, then Akhil will be focusing a little bit more on the resume and how the resume is so important and how vital it is for the admission committee to make a decision. So before Akhil, I request you to give some information about your first name, your last name, the school, and the city or the state that you're in, and where are you going, what are you majoring in, and you'll be talking about the GPA stuff and throw insights about the GPA and also the resume, please.
Hey, Ravi and Akhil, this is Sushil back on. Hey, we have a couple of questions from online before we jump on to the next topic. Probably
Sure.
we should cover them. One of the question is how many recommendation letters requires from high school teachers? That was one question for maybe Anish or anybody, any one of you can take
Yeah.
it.
Mhm. So for recommendation letters for from high school for teachers, every college has a different recommendation letter requirement. I personally got two, and two was enough for all the colleges that I've applied to. But you could research your individual college because I believe some colleges require three, some require two, some require only one, some even require none. So if you really need that, typically they say two is like a good amount, but you could go online, research the different recommendation letters, different school needs. And then if you're planning to apply to them, then ask your teachers for maybe three. But I believe three is the max you'll ever need. Three is the max, but two is typically what everybody gets.
Yeah. Netra and Akhil, do you guys agree with what Anish was mentioning? Minimum two is needed?
Yeah, that's a pretty good amount. To UT Austin specifically, I applied with three. One with my like history teacher, which is like a liberal arts subject. One with my math teacher, which is like a STEM subject, and one with my actual computer science teacher, since it was my major itself. And I feel like having the computer science at like recommendation shows a little bit more push on my major as well.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. And there's one more question that is coming in. It says, what would be the ideal age when a student should start planning for their stream, like a tech or business or medicine? Is it high school or late middle school? When do we start out planning?
For this, to decide your career path is a question. When should you decide your career path?
That's right. When do they plan for, what streams they want to get in or
Yeah.
what volunteer work or anything that they want to decide where they want to get
Yeah.
into.
Right. Okay. So there's really no like necessary requirement or necessary age for that. Like I decided I originally wanted to become a doctor when I was in like my freshman year of high school, but then I realized that that path wasn't for me, and I've decided to go more towards finance and business and banking later, maybe around my junior year. And in my school, the Kelly School of Business, actually, we have until our junior year. So my college junior year, which is going to come in like 2027, we have up until that point to decide our major fully. So we have something called I-Core requirements. So when I-Core comes around, that's when we fully decide whether we're going to do finance, accounting, or whatever it is. And that's just my school, but I believe that other schools also have similar like programs like that. There's really no deadline to when a person should be able to decide their major. Like I know many people who still went to very prestigious schools completely undecided. So it's really up to you. But typically high school probably would be like one of the best times to like really like lock in on that. But even if you don't decide at high school, it's perfectly fine because it's very difficult to decide this at a very young age, because as you grow, definitely your mind's going to change, your goals going to change, what you want to do is going to change. And you could always change that in college. You could apply to different schools within the college, switch major. So definitely, it's a very important decision. Take your time and don't feel rushed to do it. And it's not the end of the world if you don't figure out by the time you go to college. You could really just go undecided, and that's fine.
That's a great advice.
Also, at the end of our session, I'll be covering mostly on the exchange programs and career counseling. I'll be giving a lot of information about what time usually they should start looking into the career areas, the focus on the career streams, and what are all the different possibilities and options, etc. Where exactly the confusion arises between the students, parents, and all those things, we'll be having a detailed discussion that I'm going to cover at the end.
This one more quick question, what are the guidelines for writing an application essay?
Okay, you want to give some info, or anybody?
Yeah. Writing an application essay, I think uh definitely read up. Like I read, I think almost 50 different essays from like a lot of different websites. Especially read essays which are for your school itself. So you know what like everybody else did while they applied to theirs. Make sure that it follows a regular structure of how you learned essay writing at school. For us at school, they even went over college essay writing for like one subject for in our literature class. You start with a engaging topic, an engaging story, which goes throughout the whole essay. Make sure it's very specific and special and makes you unique, because a lot of people are going to try to write like about a tragedy story on, oh, my grandfather died and that's why I want to research cancer. And even though that's like a sweet story, a lot of people might base that on why they actually want to do something, but instead try to find a different reason. Or I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but try to go for a more unique perspective when you write your essays. And then make sure it's in an organized structure, revise, have it looked over by a lot of people. Ask your friends like, hey, can you look over this? Does this sound okay? Ask your teachers, because a lot of English teachers are happy to do that for you too.
Thank you so much for covering on that. Akhil, I know you've been waiting to answer the questions, but Ravi was asking. Please go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm Akhil Puri. I'm from NC State. I'm going to be a rising junior, and I'm majoring in computer science, and I'm minoring in both statistics and business admin. And so I'm going to briefly cover letters of recommendation because we've already covered it a good bit. So I'm just going to add on. So the letters of recommendation for rising seniors, now would be a good time to ask your teachers, or if you're a rising sophomore or rising freshman, it's good to keep in mind that, teacher recommendations are a good thing to keep in mind and have on your plate, so like you can ask teachers early. And so you want to look at the colleges you're applying to and see their requirements. So a lot of colleges, as was previously mentioned, only need like 2 teacher recommendations and a guidance counselor recommendation. And so a lot of schools will also allow you to submit an extra recommendation. So this can be from a boss, a manager, or like a tutor from outside of school. And you want to ask for recommendations from teachers you know well. And you want to pick a teacher you have a good relationship with. So whether that's within school, or like if it's a recommendation outside of school, whoever you have a good relationship with. And the same applies for, like if that's an outside activity and such. And when selecting recommenders, it doesn't really matter what subjects they teach. What matters more is like the relationship you have. But it may be like a little strange if you're majoring in a STEM subject and have 2 humanities recommenders. So you want to maybe like balance it out, have 1 humanities recommendation and 1 STEM recommendation. So for me, I had an I'm majoring in computer science, so I had an AP stat. My AP stat teacher gave me a recommendation. So I had her for 2 years, and I really was able to go to her to ask her questions, and she really knew what I was doing outside of school. And for another recommendation, I took my AP Lang teacher, and she had physical like evidence of like what I did throughout the year, and she was able to use my work and like showcase to college like how he could be a good fit for the university. And if your relationship isn't the best, you can use some tools to help them write a better recommendation. So this can be a resume with like activities, your stats, and other things that you want to include to show like how you're a good student to your recommender. And you can also have a Q&A letter. So to answer some questions that the teacher would like beforehand. So this can be some extracurriculars that are important to you and how you want them to include that, or how you overcame some obstacles in your classes or in that specific class that you want the teacher to include, or any other specific information that you want to add, you can tell the teacher or like any other recommender to include. And you want to follow the same process for the counselor rec, because that's just as important as the other teachers. And yeah, that's pretty much it as far as recommendations. You just want to ask like early on. So if you're applying this cycle, you wanna ask as soon as possible, like whenever school opens, or if you already did like before the school year, then you're on the right track. And yeah, so for your resume, uh it should be like a good combination of both your academic and extracurricular profile. So for resume, universities oftentimes require a resume for like special programs, or they allow you to attach your resume in the general application. So it really depends, or for scholarships, it's a great addition. And you want to make a list of everything from special projects, awards, honors, leadership positions, and maybe other things you've been a part of, like publications. And next to each accomplishment, you want to include like quantifiable or noteworthy accomplishments. And so you can divide your resume into like your education, and then your work experience, and then volunteering or projects, and then your skills. It really depends based on your major. And you can also include an objective or summary to showcase like what you want to do with the major you're doing. And as far as like the weighted and unweighted GPA, a lot of times you can include both, but I've heard a lot of people choosing the GPA, which is better, and including that one. So that could be like you could choose either your weighted or your unweighted GPA and put that on your resume, or you can include both. And also a good addition to your resume is including 2 to 3 references. So where college application officers can contact those references and see if they could find more information about you and see if everything aligns with your application. Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you so much, Akhil, for all the detailed information. And coming to Anish, when you wrote the resume for Indiana, what was the thing that probably, I'm just thinking about it, what was the thing that might have caught their attention for you to get into the Kelly Business School?
Right. So the thing about Kelly is there's different paths to get into Kelly. So there's the direct admit path, and there's the second year path. So many students, what they do is they get admitted to Indiana University, and then they spend a year there. They take pre-business courses, and if they do good in those courses, they go into the Kelly School. But for students like me, direct admins, what we did is you have to have like a certain GPA requirement and a certain SAT requirement. And then if you had higher than that, then they would directly admit you into the Kelly School. So probably about my application, what stood out to them was probably I had a very strong background in public speaking, teamwork, and youth leadership. So as I mentioned earlier before, one of my biggest extracurriculars is indeed public speaking. I have a 3 on public speaking. I spent like 4 years teaching students public speaking, students like young students, maybe like middle school, high school. I taught them public speaking. I also created a public speaking camp in India. I spent like 3 weeks there teaching students there for in basic topics in like public speaking, like body language, teamwork, and voice modulation. That probably caught their attention because public speaking is definitely a very valuable skill in business, because obviously you're speaking at presentations, you're speaking at webinars, you're speaking at seminars. So that's very important. I also had a couple of internships. I had one internship at, there's a company here, it's called Smart IMS. I did an internship there. That probably also caught their attention. I was also a member of my school's Franklin FBLA club, Future Business Leaders of America. I qualified for nationals there, so I also put that on my resume or my application. I also started my own club at my school. It was like something called a public speaking club. It was like a philosophy club type. So it had like 200 members at its peak. I found that also probably helped. So I believe what really helped was I was able to showcase that I'm a good public speaker. I know how to speak with crowds. I know how to work with people. I know how to be dynamic. I know how to take initiative. And I believe that has to really help my application a lot. Also my GPA, SAT scores like that. So I believe that's what helped me get into Kelly.
So I think one of the questions that the audiences are asking us, do we need to have hire a counselor to get help in terms of writing an essay? Am I right? So here it's very important that we need to note a couple things. Number one, the essay that a student is going to write has to be primarily the idea that they are interested in. You can take the counselor's help in terms of what do you call it? Putting it as an embellishment or drafting it the right way. It is more like you want to start a movie. So the idea should be yours, but the director should give you the idea and say that this is the way that it should be presented to the audience. So the counselor who is going to give you essays should know the way of presenting it to the presenting professionally to the decision makers. But again, very clear, the counselor should not write your idea. What is your interest? He will not know about you. He'll not even know what exactly Netra wants to pursue her, in terms of what she wants to do in terms of her being studying computer science. She doesn't want to know what is Akhil's, he or she doesn't want to know what is his Akhil's interests, and the interests are not going to be mapping correctly. Same is with. Do you guys, what is your opinion, Netra as well as Akhil, on the hiring a counselor, writing their essays, or I mean, you can say that embellishing their essays or whatever you call it, your experience.
Yeah, so I think you're completely right. I think I fell into the same trap. I thought I could just tell them an idea and then they'd help me write the whole entire thing, but that's not how it works. Because it's your personality that really shines through the essay. And that's I like the point that you mentioned. Because I could be doing computer science, but they may not know exactly what or why I want to do it. So in my essays, I made sure to talk about my future goals with computer science. Like for an example, going into the metaverse, working with NLP in like different industries. So I made sure to be specific about those and then talk about, like I did an emotion recognition project, and that helps with this future natural language processing model that I want to make or I want to implement in different restaurants and here and there. And yeah, basically talk about specifically your passion and your goal in the essay, and then they can see that this goal doesn't just stop in college, but it continues on in your professional career.
Thank you so much. Akhil, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I also agree with that. And like you yourself have an idea of like the clubs and organizations and what your future aspirations are. So it should be like personal to you. And having like a college counselor may not be like the best way to go about it all the time. And I know a lot of college counselors that like stay with you for like 2 or 3 years and really understand your personal situation. So that's maybe something to consider. And also you could take maybe your close friends and have them take a look at your essay. Maybe that could give you a few pointers on how to improve it. But overall, it should be personalized, and you should be able to like see if what you're portraying is really aligning with your values and your future mission.
And Anish, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so definitely my main thing with college essays is that the point of the essay is to speak to yourself. So when you write your essay for your college, the people who are reading your essay, the admissions officer, the point of it is so that they can understand who you are as a person, right? They need to see who you are. They need to understand what type of person you are, if you're a good fit for their college, if you're a good fit for their community, and the good fit for their nature that they involve in. So college coaches or like counselors, they could be useful, definitely. But the main part of your essay should be written by yourself. So I should be writing my essay. You should be writing your essay. The writer should be writing their own essay, because that's the only way that the college is going to know who you are. Like if you have someone else write the whole thing for you, it's not going to be about you, because nobody knows you better than yourself, right? So if somebody else writes it for you, the college is definitely going to see through that. They're going to understand, like, this guy didn't write that. Some other dude wrote that. and it's really not valid. Like, come on, like, how could you not write your own college essay, right? So but definitely what they could help with is editing the essay, right? Giving you ideas, pointing you in the right direction, because it's definitely difficult to write a college essay because it's so broad, it's so vast, right? There are millions of things you could write about, millions, right? A college counselor could really point you in the right direction, like tell you like, oh, you should write about this. That could really like show them who you are. And then you could write your essay and then you could give it to them. They could edit it. They could make it more like appealing. They could like edit your grammar, whatever it might be, to make it stand out a little bit more. But the main premise of your essay should be written on you and your own experiences, which is definitely very important.
Thank you so much, you guys. And the final topics that we are going to cover today is about the study abroad and exchange programs, and the other things are about career counseling, internships, and it is the broader areas. So I would like to say that this is what I'm going to cover, and this is what I've been working on for the past, in terms of college admissions counseling, to reiterate myself, in terms of college admissions counseling, this is my 31st year I'm doing this. And I want to be very ethically honest to the community and to the students that I help the students in terms of there is not even a single counselor who can say that I promise you to get into Ivy schools. No, none of the decisions are none of the decisions are can be influenced by any counselor. Absolutely not. So there is no counselor who can guarantee you or who can tell you that these are the ways that you can get into it, and this is a guaranteed admission. That is not. It is according to the NACAC guidelines. It is very unethical if somebody is telling that, you know what, I can get you guaranteed into these schools. A lot of the times, students, parents ask me that, hey, I want my student to get into Ivy schools. Oh, okay, that's fine, but there is no guarantee as such, because if you narrow down in terms of statistics and all those things, especially for Indian parents, it's about Indian students, it's anywhere between 4 to 6% chances. That's about it. And the pool of applicants are several lakhs. That means you may get even 30, 40,000 applications for that particular major. Imagine they are Ivy schools. Now we'll focus more on the student abroad, study exchange programs, study abroad, and other things. So let me tell you that these study abroad and exchange can the students start study abroad and exchange? There are two things that we need to understand over here. One, anything and everything related to the school or the study abroad are through government or the school and or independent. So if anybody wants to apply through the schools, they are more than welcome. The advantage going through the schools are it is quite possible, it is quite possible that it is okay. So the questions which one of the audience is asking about what is called a study abroad and exchange programs. I'll be covering, emphasizing on study abroad and exchange programs and also on the career counseling. So first, we'll also talk about the overall finances, loans, etc. So let me just talk about the how do we finance the educational, how do you finance the funding or for the tuition fees? For citizens and permanent residents, they are eligible for FAFSA loans. Free application for federal student aid is the government website, which is completely for free, and then every citizen and the students who are born citizens or green card holders, visa status, they are eligible for FAFSA, and then they are eligible to apply for these educational loans. International students, they are not eligible for these FAFSA loans or the federal grants. The reason being, these funds, that is FAFSA as well as grants, are funded by the public. And that is the reason why only US citizens and permanent residences are eligible. In terms of the other scholarships that they have, these are all called my other friends has covered, they're all about merit-based scholarships. For merit-based scholarships, there is no dependency on in terms of visa. You could be a citizen, you could be a permanent resident, you could be dependent H1 or H4 or the DACA or anything else. And everything is all purely on the merit base. It all depends on the school as well as the department that you are applying to. The other question is, can a student apply to multiple streams within the same school? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Definitely, you can apply to multiple schools, multiple programs within the same school. For example, in terms of Netra, she may be applying to computer science. If she's interested, she may be applying to business school as well. Why not? Applying does not mean to say that she might be interested. That is different. Whatever she is interested, she is going to take about it. And the same thing with Akhil. He might be interested in computer science, but he might be interested in music. You don't know. Or he might be interested in doing major in computer science and minor in music or any art or communications or whatever it is. Same thing is with Anish. He might be doing business in Kelly, but he might be minoring in computer science or maybe in linguistics, maybe in any other programs. So let me dive deep into scholarships, study abroad and exchange programs, and also talk about the career counseling as a secondary topic. In terms of study abroad exchange program, the most important things are students need to focus on two things. One, anything and everything related by the school, which means that it is supported by the schools, and then there are a lot of requirements. Selection criteria is going to be very challenging, tough. For example, if there are three requirements, then there might be three openings. Then probably 10 students are applying. You may be in a standby. You may get that in this year, or may not be. You have to choose what kind of exchange program that you are in. It could be a exchange from different countries and different languages or whatever it is. So it might be from the institutional to institutional exchange. Institutional to institutional exchanges are this. The advantage of all these things going through a school is about, usually when you're going through a school, then these are all funded by the schools, funded by the departments. Advantages for those students who are selected is they can get free airfare, free accommodation, and everything is free or partially funded or whatever it is. But it is a good exposure. That means you are interacting with the cross-cultural country abroad. It may be from China, it may be from Singapore, it may be from Europe. Most of the people, they might be going to all these countries, and probably predominantly from future 2025 onwards, we might be focusing on, sorry, future 2025 onwards, we might be focusing on India as well. That is one of them. What are the advantages of getting into study abroad or exchange program? One, if you want to hone your skills in your particular area. For example, Netra might be interested in computer science. Maybe she's interested in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yeah, she'll be getting into some schools in France or London or India or whatever it is. She might be tying up some institutions, and then she'll be getting a lot of knowledge, research area exposure. We are working with those professors, seeing all these subject areas in our own way. Same thing if Anish is interested in the business school, then he might be going to study abroad programs in some other countries, and then get exposure, be it in Germany, be it in London or whatever it is. Now, if it is, what if it is a study abroad? Can a student do a study abroad or exchange program on their own? The answer is yes. What is the difference? Difference is you have to fund your own program. That means you have to pay for your own program, being it as a short term, maybe a boot camp, maybe a 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks program, and then you can develop your skills within that program areas. Will they be able to add on the resume? Definitely yes. Will there be any kind of a value add difference, wow factor, or the key differentiator? It will stand out. It will stand out. That means you're academically or in terms of the program, you're seriously interested in that one, and you'll be able to speak or dig deep into it or dive deep into it and talk about it. When the decisions are made in the good schools, they're not only looking at the length of the subject, they are looking at the depth of the subject. If you say that, oh, for a boot camp of 5 days I did so and so, versus Boot camp of 5 days, that's fine, but how much deep knowledge I have on the subject is very, very important. Probably when you talk about the when you talk about deeply about the subject, you might go into add on your experiences in terms of what you did, how you did, have you worked on any projects, have you worked on any of your own concepts or the community concepts or whatever it is. That is what is very important. So study abroad and exchange programs are so important and so vital that these are going to be standing out in terms of which institution also matters and which professors also matter. Can an exchange abroad program professors can give the recommendation letters? Definitely yes. Will they be useful to in future in terms of getting a job? Probably yes. You never know about it. Yes. So if we cover something about before I start talking about the career counseling stuff, which may be about talking about internships and all those things, then I would like to give you some information about the merit-based scholarships. So in terms of merit-based scholarships, I'll talk a little bit and I'll take the opinion from my other student friends about their experiences as well. The merit-based scholarships, there is no visa limitations. This is for all the students. Every student is treated equally. Every student is treated equally. They are not called as, hey, you know what, you have a US citizenship, you have a permanent resident, you have a DACA, nothing. It's all about the merit-based scholarship. You may be, it may be underprivileged, underrepresented, or whatever it is. Absolutely, you don't have anything. Merit-based scholarships is purely on the subject areas. It is all dependent on the subject and dependent on the department that you are qualified for. The scholarships that, as Akhil pointed out and Anish pointed out, there are other scholarships that there. Like Akhil said that for the homeowners association, he was filling the application and then he was qualified for $500. Hey, absolutely, that's a very, very good thing. Like that, there are several kinds of scholarships. There are private scholarships, there are independent scholarships, the schools funded scholarships, there are the departmental scholarship, the whole school scholarship, the program funded scholarship, there are NSF scholarships, and several scholarships are there. Please try to be open to all, attend to all these sessions from the schools, or talk to the departments, figuring out. Is it another important point is you could be admitted into a school in the computer science, but you may get scholarships even from the other departments also, because you might be supporting their initiatives where you have experience or you have some kind of a knowledge that you can write about. For example, communications or journalism. If you are good in writing articles, and then you can write articles for the school newsletters, and you can be funded there as well. Because if you look into it, the newsletters are so important for the schools, it stands out. So that means you are in a computer science or a different major or a biology major or any major, but you are writing some kind of letters or some kind of a work for this communication and journalism department, and that they are able to. Why? Because the school is benefiting out of it, and you are giving that opportunity and all those things. So that could be kind of different scholarships that are available. So can we just go and dive into the career counseling stuff, which is very, very important at this point of time? Or do the audience have any questions before we talk about career counseling? I would like to wait for a minute. Before that, I would like to ask my team panel members in terms of what is their experience in terms of exchange programs. Have they done any? If not, are they going to do in their bachelor's programs? And if they are planning to do, what is that they are planning to do? They are interested in doing. So just give some information on this one. Netra.
Yeah. So, I haven't done any so far, but I'm really looking to do one just because first of all, it's fun. It's like an amazing once in a lifetime experience. And usually when you're at a college, this is the best time to do it because the college can fund a lot of the money that will help you go there. Um, and a lot of people think, like, what I thought at first was that computer science wouldn't have as many like study abroad things as much as like, oh, people in a major in Spanish or something, but that's not true. Computer science does have a lot of study abroad opportunities. And Well, two places which I've been looking at were Madrid or Spain in Spain, or Madrid, Barcelona, that area, or Singapore, because I heard that they had great computer science opportunities. And yeah, those are just two places that I'm interested in pursuing study abroad in.
Excellent. How about you, Akhil?
Yeah, going into college, I wanted to do a study abroad in Spain because I've been taking Spanish for a couple of years by then, and then I want to do a computer science coursework over there. But like 2 years later, like the feasibility maybe would be the best, like the biggest factor when considering to do a study abroad. So I'm still open to it, but I would say having an internship or like another experience is like more of a priority for me at this time.
Very good. How about you, Anish?
Yeah, so the Kelly School actually, or Indian University itself, they offer a lot of international study abroad programs. I think they're like very into that, like very inclined to do that. They incline students a lot. It's like a very like prestigious program there for study abroad. So I definitely would be considering it, probably somewhere in Europe. But I'm still thinking about it because I'm not even in college yet. I'm an incoming freshman, so I'll definitely probably very much consider it and probably do it.
Thank you so much. We have, I think, another 15 minutes, but I'll talk uninterruptedly. I'm going to focus on the career counseling areas, and that is the most important areas that I've been working on for the last more than 15 plus years. So when it comes to career counseling, it all starts about experiential services for high school, gap year, as well as college students, and that's my core areas as well. Now, students should, most of the time, the parents will be asking me, how do we select a major? I would like to state that based on several research areas, you may call it as NACAC or NACE, it says that only 20% of the students have decided majors, and most of them may not be having any kind of a idea or clueless. If the student says that, hey, I don't know, I'm not decided yet, don't worry about it, especially parents, don't worry about it. It is absolutely normal for any student to say that they are not decided. The only reason is, if you look into the career counseling part, once they are in the professional world of working, on an average, till the time that they retire, they'll be spending 90,000 hours of their life in terms of spending the rest of their life. 90,000 hours plus is what they are going to spend. We have to understand very clearly, especially parents, that how will we select a major, especially the high school students? It is like going to a restaurant, which dish is good. We don't know about it, right? If you preconceively say that I want to go and have this one, that is different. But if you're open and I want to decide, then you have a big menu. The same way, when it comes to career counseling, there are a lot of options within the areas. For example, for example, I'll talk about computer science as well as the business. Only within the computer science, if they're majoring in computer science, then segregating it into it, we all know as parents that how many technology jobs are there, right? We cannot just say that, hey, you know what, I did MSc in computer science, but the student might be eventually down the line interested in AI/ML, which is the talk of the town. Maybe in future they might be interested in only operating systems or maybe mainframes or something like that. Vice versa, in the business, the same way. I have a Excel sheet of what are all the different majors that the student can get into, and how the selections can be done or through. There are, for especially for high school, there are some called Brigger institutes that will give you the profile of interest. That means, what is that? What is the? If you take these tests, they're all free tests, by the way. They're all free tests. If you take these tests, it will tell you that what the student might be interested in. It is just a hypothetical answer, but if the student is able to find interest into that, okay, the student took this test, and based on the test, the student might be interested in these are the majors. Okay, so within that, then we have to, if you fall into that category, within that category, there are subcategories. So these are all the things that we can talk about separately. So what I'm trying to tell you is a student should start finding out their major, figuring out their interest. It can be from high school onwards. Some people are very, very good enough. They may start even from middle school onwards. Absolutely. There are some students who are interested from middle school onwards. I've come across students who are interested in middle school, but very little, very, very minor portion of them. In terms of the, to a pretty decent amount, 20%, 25%, they'll have interest from the developed or deep interest into selected majors right from their high school onwards, right from their freshman, sophomore years onwards, they can be having their own choices. But what I insist on the students is start doing some kind of a voluntary work in the area of your interest. If you say that I'm volunteering for a temple, that's good, no doubt about that. But it is not going to stand out when it is compared to, hey, I've been volunteering for this, I'm applying for a medical program, and especially I'm interested in dental programs. So I have been volunteering for this particular dentist in my community area. I've been working with this dental office for the last 6 months. Is going to stand out when you compare to the same student saying that I've been volunteering for a church, I've been volunteering for the community, I've been volunteering for local fire stations or whatever it is, doing all these things for 6 months. So, so those are the things that will stand out in terms of your interests. And the question arises is what kind of interests are there? What kind of tests are there? There's something called profile test, interest test, the owner profile test, interest test, and all these things. I'll send out some of the owner profile. If you Google search on the owner profile, BMI test, okay, and these are all the tests. Clifton Strengths test is there. So there are approximately broaderly at the broader level there are about 6 tests that you can get into. These are the tests that will help a student to figure it out what they might be interested in. These are all at a very high level, again, at a very high level tests that will give you about a student is interested in business major or a computer science major or a medical major or whatever it is. But that does not give deeper into the subject areas. It will only talk about the professional areas, but not the subject areas. There are something called professional areas are different and the areas of interest are also different. So, okay, for example, let's say, for example, Anish wants to study in business, Kelly Business School, but again, he might be more interested in mergers and acquisitions, or in terms of finance, or in terms of banking, or in terms of within the banking area, he might be interested in stocks, bonds, and annuities. So, this test may give you a broader area about, okay, based on the test that you are looking for, Anish, you are more interested in finance areas. The test might get and say that you might be interested in test business areas only. So those are the things that these tests will tell you. So in terms of the PSAT question, I'll leave it to Akhil as well as Netra in terms of they'll answer it. In terms of career counseling, again, the student should start having volunteering work that will give you some sort of a recommendation letters. The more amount of volunteering hours that you do for the community, those are the most important things that they are going to stand out in terms of your subject areas. You should also start looking into high school internships. Finding high school internships is a challenge, but you will definitely get into the internship areas. So the internships could be as short as the summer internships. It could be a 3-month internships. It could be virtual internships. Again, the word virtual internships, and many of the times parents come back and say that, hey, I want the internships for my student to study in to do internship in Google or Bank of America. That is not. It is not just going to happen overnight. Okay. So the best way is you have to carefully navigate how to get into all these branded organizations before if you're looking for a high school internship in, for example, Bank of America or Capital One and Chase, they are also looking for what kind of a subject experience that you have, right? What kind of a community work that you have. Let's say, for example, a medical student is interested in applying for a medical hospital. And then if you say that one student is saying that, hey, I have about 200 hours of volunteer hours in going to the church or the temple, versus a student did something in working with an internal medicine as well as a dentist, that volunteering activity which is related to the academics has more importance than you going to working in the animals, working with the fire stations, working with the communities, working with underprivileged people. That is not going to help you out. So these are all the standout things that you need to work on. And apart from all these things, you should also focus on how you are able to best fit for the community. And when these big schools are looking at how your skills are going to be helpful to the community, how your skills are going to be helpful to the organizations, how your experiences are going to be helpful to the not only organizations or the communities, or in general to the country as well, because they want to see that these are coming out to be productive and the best possible professionals. So what I would like to tell you is there are a lot of things that we can cover in this area. Time is not that sufficient, but we can always have a one-on-one conversation with my team along with the ATA. And then at this point of time, if there are any questions, only 5 minutes are left. I believe only 5 minutes are left, and I leave it the audience to ask some questions. And otherwise, then I leave it to Sushil to take it forward from here onwards.
Yeah, I think most of the questions are answered from the audience end. If there are any new questions, then I'll keep them posted here. One question was, they were asking if they can get your contact number, Ravi.
My email address is Ravi Lothumala, all one word, ravilothumala@yahoo.com. More than welcome to email me. I'll give you my cell phone number, which is area code 917-670-2021. And you can reach me in either of the way. I'm all there on WhatsApp. And then we are going to run some more webinars for other communities, probably from next month onwards. So you are more than welcome to ask me for any questions. And if there are at least 5 or 10 people, then we can sit it in a library or any kind of a community hall or whatever it is, or whatever the event is. Even to if it is within the community, even if 5 students are coming together, then if it is, I live in Frisco, Texas, that is in the Dallas areas. So within the drivable distance of about less than 20 to 30 minutes, I'll be open to come to the communities and educate the parents as well as the students in terms of what needs to be done, all for the benefit of the community. And it is all about volunteering, students.
I think we are at the end of the session. Thank you so much, Ravi
One more
garu.
question, question. I'm sorry to
You have more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
One more question. Can you see?
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you so much for all our esteemed guests, Ravi garu, for your time, and the Gen Z gang. Thank you so much. You had options to do so many things today, but you volunteered to help the community and then educate all of us. Me as a parent, my son recently graduated from high school, and he is right now getting into NYU Stern Business School. Why I'm telling that is definitely got benefited from this kind of sessions. He also went through ATA, SAT, and ACT courses and attended many of these sessions. He was also actively participating as ATA youth. These all things will come into picture, eventually to put into their resume and then build their profile. For parents, as a parent, my advice is let the kids be what they are. Do not pressurize them. I know any field they pick, they will be successful. Just use this information just to see how you can guide them and mold them into what they could be or what they want to be. And thank you so much for ATA leadership that is providing all these kind of courses and then opportunities for everybody to get educated in different fields. We have our president Madhubami Garu and the president-elect Jan Challa, board of trustees and executive people that are supporting all these things, regional advisors, regional directors, standing committee. There's a big force that does a lot of community services. And a special thanks to our media partner today, the ABR production. Naveen, thank you so much for doing all these things. And we look forward to more of these programs. And special thanks to Ravi again today. You know, you took your time. There's a you do this often for ATA, and so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be part of this program and have you as our guest.
Thank you so much.
Ravi garu last ఒక question ఉంది.
Yeah, చెప్పండి.
So in terms of PSAT, right? Is that right?
Yes, the last question.
So PSAT is for National Merit Scholarships. This is very important for every student to take the PSAT. This PSAT exam is for awarding the scholarships for the student based on the PSAT. Then what kind of scholarship that can be awarded by the schools? That is what is the most important thing. I would like to be unbiased, but I want to tell you very honestly that you should take both PSAT for the any scholarship base, and you should also take SAT, ACT, even though the schools state that it is test optional. The schools might state that there is a difference between a school as well as the program. So the school might say that it is test optional, but this is only because of the COVID situations. COVID has been gone. So now every university is coming back to test mandate. So when it is test mandated, take both SAT, ACT and also PSAT to crack your scholarships. This is very important. Guys, give your opinion on this one, on the PSAT.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to stand out. If you score well, then you can qualify for national merit scholarships, and there's different classifications on that. And also, it's a good preparation for the SAT or even the ACT.
Anish?
Yeah, pretty much the PSAT. It's very useful in qualifying for the NMSA, the National Merit Scholarship. That's pretty useful. I don't think you could really use it in the college application itself, but yeah, it does serve as good preparation for the SAT. And you could also put the National Merit Scholarship on your application, which could also boost your application. But I don't think you could put like the actual score of your PSAT on there. But yeah, it's definitely important to do good on that and get that NMSA and qualify for it.
I remember, I think there's a pre-PSAT, like back in 1 year before the actual PSAT. That one I used to just figure out where I stand in SAT, PSAT, and then I took it as a measurement on, okay, this is how much I can improve, or how much that I need to improve before next year, the actual one. Yeah, basically what everyone's been saying, it's really good for national merit scholarships. I actually did list my PSAT score on my resume just so it could be there, and I'm not sure if it helped or not, but it's just like another metric you can include. Yeah, so it's important to study for it and do well on it. And even if you don't get a national merit scholarship, I know there's, I think, you can be considered as a semifinalist or even as a commended scholar, and that's still a title you can include. So even if you can't do your very, very best, at least doing well can land you among those.
Thank you so much for the team. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. Yeah, I forgot to mention Sharda Singh Reddy. She's the force behind all this, our board of trustee. And thank you so much, Sharda Garu, being there. And then, yeah, I missed one question. Thank you so much for pointing that out. And I hope this is helpful for everyone. All right, guys.